y'all doing today? It's fine. Another day in paradise here.
So, what do you think of what happened today?
Let me just make a statement here, if I may. On Tuesday, in this courtroom right here, I filed a civil suit against the Kangaroo Committee on the Hill, 7 partisan Democrats, 2 Rhino Republicans. The essence of that civil suit was that the subpoenas issued by the committee are ultra-virus, unlawful, and unenforceable. And I made that case based on 4 legal arguments. The first is that this committee is neither duly authorized nor properly constituted, meaning that it doesn't follow the rules of either the House itself or the committee's own authorizing resolution. I would refer you to the civil suit, but it's H-Res 8 and H-Res 1037. I am not the only one who has filed to question the validity of that Kangaroo Committee. Nancy Pelosi herself calls that committee unprecedented, and she's absolutely right. The second point, and by the way, my book, Taking Back Trump's America, I need everybody in America to buy that book on Amazon today. That is for 2 reasons. One is that's going to be my legal defense fund, because these people are coming at me hard. Number 2, that book is about why we need to take the House of Representatives back from the kangaroos on Capitol Hill. The second case, part of the civil case, is simply that over a 5-year period, Congress has weaponized the investigatory powers of Congress in a way which is unconstitutional. The people of America need to understand Congress has the right to investigate, but only for non-punitive legislative purposes. What that Kangaroo Committee is doing right now is investigating for punitive purposes. They're essentially acting as judge, jury, and executioner. Their mission, their clear mission, is to prevent Donald John Trump from running for president in 2024 and being elected for president. People like me are in their way, and they're not coming for me and Trump, they're coming for you. All 74 million of you who voted for Donald John Trump. Hang on, I'm not finished. You need to do your homework. Read that. That case went out, every one of you. I bet there isn't a single person in here who read that whole case. The third issue is that the Constitution is a prohibition against what's called bills of attainders. Okay? This is bills against undue punishment of citizens of this country. Today, the punishment which was inflicted on a man presumed innocent and innocent until proven guilty demonstrates the utter disregard for the Constitution and the law that the Department of Justice has. I sent them a letter on Wednesday offering a modus vivendi. I told them contact an individual who would discuss this matter. What did they do? They didn't call me. I spoke to the FBI agent who arrested me. I spoke to him Wednesday night. I said, Walter, whatever you need. You don't have to come banging on my door like you did last week getting me out of bed. I'm here to cooperate. Okay? What did they do? Right? I was on my way to Nashville today to do a TV appearance with Mike Huckabee's show. Right? And instead of coming to my door where I live, which, by the way, is right next to the FBI, instead of calling me and say, hey, we need you down at court, we've got a warrant for you, I would have gladly come. What did they do? They intercepted me getting on the plane. And then they put me in handcuffs, they bring me here, they put me in leg irons, They stick me in a cell. By the way, just historical note, I was in John Hinckley's cell. They seem to think that that was like an important historical note. Okay, that's punitive. That what they did to me today violated the Constitution. In my lawsuit, I discussed going back to Nixon, GSA, and other cases, that what this government is supposed to do when they have an issue such as they've had. And this is not the first rodeo they've had. They've had plenty of people question the validity of their subpoenas. What they're supposed to do is take the least burdensome alternative. I told them, go negotiate with Donald John Trump and his attorneys, because I'm in an untenable constitutional position. There's no settled law on this. There's no settled law. And by the way, the law leans squarely towards my right to senior testimonial immunity and President Trump's right to executive privilege. What did they do? They didn't negotiate with the president, as I asked them. That would have been the least burdensome. They didn't file a civil suit like they did with Mears and Bolton back in the Bush administration when they didn't control the Justice Department. What did they do? They just came with the full force of the federal government and put the hammer down, trying to intimidate me. All right, now hang on.
Question, Peter.
One last thing. One last thing. I have represented myself pro se in this matter because part of the Democrats' strategy is to engage in what is called lawfare, which is to say to use the legal system for effectively coercion and illicit ends. I do not want to spend several $100,000 on lawyers. But the reason why I'm here, and this is not about me, folks, not about me here. This is about a constitutional principle that is important to effective presidential decision making, and what the Justice Department is doing is wrong on all manner of counts. All right, let me stop here. Now, let me warn you here. I'm not going to answer any questions pertaining to the case, because with this indictment and arrest, I can't speak specifically about legal matters. So I'm warning you on that, okay? And if I get questions to that, I'm going to have to just find my way to my home. Yes, ma'am.
Are you willing to go behind bars over this? And is there any chance that you would cooperate?
I made it very clear that the least burdensome path for the committee and what was required by case law, settled case law, is for them to first go and negotiate executive privilege and testimonial immunity with President Trump. They did not do that. What they did was they colluded with the White House to have Joe Biden engage in the fanciful and absurd notion that somehow a sitting incumbent could strip his predecessor of executive privilege and me of testimonial immunity. It does not fly. So that is an important principle that I think lays partly at the heart of this case. So let's, as the boss likes to say, let's see what happens going forward. But I have on Wednesday, I reached out to the Justice Department and I offered them a possible way forward, a modus vivendi. They responded with effectively the same kind of thing you'd see in Stalinist Russia or the Chinese Communist Party. And I note, interestingly, for the record, that the only two people who have been indicted on criminal charges are me and Stephen K. Bannon. And we're also one of the few people in this world that have been sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party. This government is acting like an authoritarian government, whether it's vax mandates or this case or anything in between. Yes, sir. You were in the court. You heard what I had to say. You can report on that.
One of the things you complained
But they're like they came to your door.
How much?
$500.
500?
And today they didn't come to your door. They met you at the airport. So I'm just trying to
As I said, on Wednesday, I said, look, to Walter Giordano, I said, Walter, I'm here. You don't have to bang on my door in the early morning. I'll take whatever subpoena you want. I let them know that at the Justice Department. There was no reason on God's good earth for what they did today to American citizens. That did not have to happen. It's terrorism, it's coercion. There's no excuse for what they did today. And America needs to know this. And I want to, again, taking back Trump's America, buy on Amazon. I need that out to the public. That's the blueprint for taking back the Congress from Pelosi's terrorists and the White House from Joe Biden. Yeah.
Mr. Navarro,
Who are you from?
You mentioned that you've invoked former President Trump multiple times. Have you spoken to him about your legal decision?
I don't talk about my discussions with President Trump ever. Next question.
And follow-up, do you feel that if you had been cooperating with the committee at any point, that you wouldn't be in this predicament that you're following yourself right now?
The committee is an unlawful committee that does not abide by its own authorization or its own procedures. I mean, look, here's the thing. Reporters, like, the best reporting that's come out on this wasn't from America. It was from the Daily Mail. Why is that? Okay? But if you do your homework on this, and it's all in my civil suit, HRES 8, which is General Authorizing Resolution of this Congress, says that in order for a committee to issue subpoenas, they have to have a ranking minority member. Full stop. Full stop. The authorizing resolution for this committee says it has to have a ranking minority member to issue subpoenas. Guess what? Nancy Pelosi refused to place not only a ranking minority member on that committee, she refused to put the other 4 people that Kevin McCarthy put forward to her. Instead, without his consultation, another violation of the rules, she put on Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, who I argue in the civil suit obviously have score settling and access to crime. These are ultra vires, unenforceable, unlawful subpoenas, and that committee should never have been formed. I blame, as much as I blame Pelosi and Schiff and Raskin, I also blame Kevin McCarthy. He knew right at the outset that they were breaking the rules, and he didn't stand up right then. And shame on Kevin McCarthy. Now he's got his own subpoena. It'd be interesting to see whether they hold him in contempt, whether he winds up over here. I doubt it. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
That's what it is.
Say again? Yeah, that's going to be a legal question. If you were sitting there, you understood my arguments. I do believe, as I stated in the courtroom, that this was a preemptive strike by the Department of Justice to prevent my civil suit from going forward. And shame on them. And the evidence of that is simply, I filed that civil suit on Tuesday. I sent them a communication on Wednesday trying to offer some kind of modus vivendi, and instead of responding to that, instead of having the FBI agent call cordially and ask me to come down and go through this, whatever it is, they didn't do that. They just put the hammer down. And no American citizen should have to go through what I went through today, who is trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to do my duty to this country. I'm in an untenable position. The Constitution is on my side on this. And I'm just trying to hold that ground. And I'm up against partisans who want to weaponize Congress and abuse the tools of the federal government. Who else? Anybody else?
They came to your house on Wednesday, the FBI. What was that? What was that?
That wasn't Wednesday. That was last week. They were delivering a subpoena to have me. It's a very interesting subpoena because they were commanding me to submit documents to the grand jury. Grand jury 22-3 to be exact. And they weren't compelling my testimony. They weren't commanding me to come and testify. They were simply commanding me to deliver documents. And the untenable constitutional position we have here, and there's a whole lot of other issues with those subpoenas, is I have testimonial immunity, and the president, there's Trump executive privilege. It's a very interesting legal case. And look, my mission here is to get this to the Supreme Court so that they can resolve the key issues here. I think the biggest issue is whether an incumbent president can strip a predecessor of executive privilege. I mean, look, please understand this. If that happens, if the courts allow that to stand, the Justice Department gets away with that, that'll essentially kill the institution of executive privilege as we know it. And it exists dating back to the days of George Washington for a very, very, very good reason, which is to allow candor from people like me sitting in places like the Oval Office so that a president can make effective and informed and optimal decision making. Anyway, I'm going to take one last question. Hang on. Do me a favor. Okay, it's been a long day. I'm going to take one last question. Do me the courtesy when I leave here, because I've been generous with my time and I've got nothing more to say. Just let me walk out of here and behave in a civil manner. So I'll take one last question. Yeah, go ahead. Have you read my case? So what did I say in my case about that? What did I say in my case about that? This is what we do in professional law. You said you read my case. You asked me a question. What did I say about me representing myself?
I'm not here to repeat that. What was based
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Navarro, were you denied a phone call?
Do you think it's a good idea?
I'm representing myself pro se because I do not want to be dragged down into the muck of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of my retirement savings on this kind of venture. I'm going to evaluate my legal strategy in light of what has happened with this, and there'll be more to follow. But if you would please, don't scream at me when I stop. Don't follow me. Just let me walk home, and I would much appreciate that. It's been a long day. I've been generous with my time. God bless America. Thank you.